Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you, and I know that one of my videos that's been really popular to this point, it was the which ship to buy video. And I'd like to recognize that just about everything in that video still stands true. But I did want to take that one step further. Now, this is going to be which ship you should buy, plus what might make logical upgrades for you later on once the persistent universe actually hits. Now, I've also polled some of the members of my organization to find out what they went with, and I'll kind of share some of their logic on their choices at the end as well. In addition, I'll take you through some of my decision-making process on why I bought the ships that I did. So here's the bottom line with all this, though, before we even start out, and something I want to make sure that's very clear for everyone, and that's all ships can be kitted into different roles. So let's say you want to take an Avenger and explore with it, that's cool. You know, just earn the credits to buy a jump engine, maybe a scanner, and then enjoy the really fast ship with some decent cargo space. It's really all up to you, and that's the freedom this game is going to offer you. This is more of just a general guide to help you choose what you can start with early on to help you get to what you want to do a little bit sooner. So, in order to break this down, let's define what I personally consider the three quote-unquote primary roles that I think we're going to have, and that's going to be transportation, exploration, and combat. Now, I know there's a lot of things that fall into individual sub-roles there, but we'll cover those a little bit as we discuss what I think these primaries are really going to benefit from. So, let's start off with the first primary, and in my mind, that's exploration. So let's go ahead and just jump into that. From the low dollar amount, let's call it the starter ships, you're going to have two options, either the Aurora or the Mustang. Now, if you're wanting to purchase one now, the Aurora is the only available option. Now, the Mustang might be a cross-chassis upgrade later, but for now, if you want to get the cheapest way into the game, the Aurora is your best bet. Now, why am I suggesting the Aurora? Well, it comes with a bed, and while that might seem really simple and minor, it's going to give you the opportunity to explore further at distances into space. The Mustang is the other starter ship, is more combat focused and really limits your distance. Here's the deal though, most of the starting ships don't come with jump drives, so if you want to jump out into the void on day one, when the persistent universe hits, and then claim some new territory in your name, that's not going to really happen unless you get a ship that actually has that. Now, all ships are going to be jump capable, with the exception of the P-52, which is the little snub nose that comes with the Constellation, and we haven't really seen much information on the P-72, which is the one that comes with the Phoenix, but I would assume it's in the same category, where all ships can get a jump drive, with the exception of those two. So, run some low-risk cargo early in the verse, earn some cash, and then buy a jump drive, and you're going to be on your way. That being said, if you want to drop a little bit more cash right now, the 315P is the next price tier at $75, or for about $30 more than the Aurora is. Now, the Aurora and the 315P both have the same cargo space, which is fairly limited, but we're exploring, right? So that's not really a huge deal overall. What you get by choosing the 315 is what I consider a much sexier ship. It's significantly more agile, it's faster, it comes with a jump engine, a jump scanner to find jump points, as well as a tractor beam. So if you can spare the $30 extra difference between the two, then I would highly encourage you to do so. But really, that's totally up to you. So those two constitute what I would call the two cheaper starting options for exploration from day one. So let's operate under the assumption that you purchased one of those as your only ship. So what's next for you in the verse? Well, if you find out that you love exploring, then you need to ask yourself, how many people would you like to take on these voyages with you? You know, if your answer is just you and your BFF, then, people would, you might want to consider picking up like the Freelancer DUR. DUR stands for duration, and boom, all of a sudden you've got a multi-cruise ship capable of traveling great distances and exploring new things. Now, if you would prefer to have 3 of your buds explore with you, then the Constellation Aquila would be perfect. Not only does the Aquila have much more space and some advanced sensor stations, but it also comes with expanded fuel tanks for longer range travel and a sweet-ass rover for you to drive around on planets and find cool new shit. I'm not going to lie, I kind of want that rover. You're absolutely welcome to purchase either of these ships right now if you like. And if you have more cash laying around, I honestly think that one of these ships that are available right now are probably going to be your two best bets. The Freelancer DUR is going to run you $140, while the Aquila is going to cost you $325. Now, you might be saying, well, okay, I'm waiting until this is all fake in-game money, so the Aquila is clearly going to be better. But so what's the point of the Freelancer DUR? And that's really an excellent question, because I think there's a lot of people that are wondering the same thing. There's a few very good reasons to choose the DUR, and the number one is going to be its operating costs. The Freelancer is supposed to be one of the most fuel-efficient ships in the game. It's more common, so it's going to be cheaper and quicker to repair or replace. And since it only carries one crew member, you're not spreading the profits that you earn from your endeavors nearly as thin. Freelancer is also going to be fairly capable without another crew member, so it could be a good ship just to take out solo if you wanted to. That doesn't mean the Aquila is a bad choice either. It does have more crew members, more guns, more sensors, good range. It's got more cargo space in case you find something cool. And it also comes with that rover. Frankly, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these if that's your end result or your end goal for finding a exploration ship. Now, it is worth noting that there's more ships out there that haven't been released yet. For example, the Carrack is a ship that's going to be coming later on in development. Now, this badass is going to have big fuel tanks, a jump drive, computer-dedicated charting, jump points, a mapping room, and also comes with medical and repair bays. So in addition to being a really good exploring ship, it's also kind of a support ship. Now, this ship's going to carry 4 people, so it will be similar to the Constellation in that manner. But it has more specific focus overall as well. We don't really know a whole lot more about the ship at this time, and things change all the time with ship stats. But it's one that I'm personally really looking forward to, really looking forward to seeing, and if you're planning on being serious about exploration, that could be a really good long-term goal for you. So, let's summarize exploration a little bit, and here's kind of the upgrade path that I would recommend taking. Start out with the Aurora or the 315 as your pledge package. If you go with the Aurora, you can trade it in-game for a 315 when you make up the difference in cost. Now, we don't know much, or how much that Aurora is going to be worth, though, when you're trading it in, and I don't know how much you're going to get back on your initial investment, but I would probably save your cash for the next upgrade. Either way, I think there's going to be a significant timeline between earning a Freelancer and being able to earn the Aquila, so either way, I would try and upgrade to that Freelancer DUR as quick as possible. From there, decide if you're happy. If you want more, more space and you want to have more people to play with, if you would just like the look of the Constellation series, then move on to the Aquila and live the explorer's dream. So that's basically my recommendations for the exploration and kind of a possible upgrade tree for you. But don't worry, that's not it. We're going to go ahead and move into transportation, and in a transport role, cargo equals money, and generally, more cargo equals more money. Now, much like with exploration, we have the same 2 starter ships in the PU, the Aurora and the Mustang. Now, again, the Aurora is going to be the best bet based on the fact that it can actually carry cargo. The Mustang can't carry anything, which makes it useless for this role, and on top of that, you can't even buy the Mustang right now to get into the game, so it doesn't really matter. But if it does go on sale again, and you're interested in one at the game's start, it's still not really going to be the right choice if you want to do transportation. Now, the Aurora is not going to be carrying thousands of tons of cargo or anything like that, but it will carry some, and every load that you carry and unload is going to earn you money in the game. Now, there's an upgrade for the Aurora that you can get in-game called the Big Box. That's basically going to allow you to carry more than twice your original load. And depending on how much that upgrade costs in-game, and I think it's going to be really reasonable, that's probably going to be the fastest way to increase your revenue stream, and is something you should definitely consider. After you make that upgrade, though, there's quite a few different choices for you to, ponder over. Again, do you want something that's capable of taking you and some friends along, or would you just prefer to keep playing solo? Well, let's start simple and find some ships that are best suited to solo play. Another good option, especially if you're planning on buying something early in the game with real money, could be the Avenger. You get a ship that carries twice as much cargo as the... or I guess you get twice as much cargo in the Avenger as you would with the Aurora without the big box. But it's also very fast and has a big-ass gun on the front. And like I've mentioned before in one of my previous videos, was a old police vehicle. Now, this is a decent early transport option that's going to be more capable of defending your cargo, or maybe just hitting the throttle and outrunning trouble. It comes with a size 5 engine right now, though some people are saying they want that changed, and it might be changed. And it's the largest engine we've seen to date on a single-seater ship. Now, for $75, you can be the proud owner of what I'd probably consider to be a very good multi-role ship, and that being the Avenger. Earning one in-game should also be pretty easy, and I think they're going to be pretty common. Now, if you really want to focus on cargo capacity, we move up to the Freelancers again. And the stock Freelancer is going to be a very customizable ship that's going to provide you with good distance, good cargo carrying capacity, and again, is a great option for those that want to fly with their pal around in them because it's got the turret. The Freelancer Max is the dedicated cargo hauling variant of the Freelancer series, and it comes with a larger hull to make that happen, and can carry 280 tons of cargo versus 168 on the base model. Now, that does come with a bit of sacrifice as you give up 2 of your weapons, and while it is heavier because of the larger hull, it does get 2 extra engines. Now, that, my friends, is compelling. So, both of those can be purchased now, but the price has increased quite a bit on these compared to some of the starting ships. The base Freelancer model is going to cost you $125, while the Max variant is going to cost you $155. While I don't want to spend anyone else's money, the Freelancer class is likely to be one of the most versatile ships in the game, and if you have the money available, it would make for a great starter ship on day one if you're wanting to do transport. Otherwise, just earn it in-game by flying the Aurora. You can make that happen and not come out of pocket too much. Now, if you're really getting serious, or you just realize that you want to carry the most cargo possible, you realize that cargo is money. Well, then the Constellation variant Taurus is probably something you want to start looking towards. Now, the Taurus is customized to carry more cargo than the Connie variants, with a cargo load of 1,900 freight units. That's a huge improvement from both Freelancer options. Now, if you want one of these, and you have the money to just buy a Freelancer Max, you're going to have a hard time not wanting to jump up to the Taurus, because it's only $45 more at a total of $200 right now. In-game, it's going to be the easiest constellation to earn. Again, though, we kind of go back to that same argument we had when we were talking about exploration. It's going to really depend on how many people you have to ride with you, and will you be interested in seeing, or it's going to be interesting to see kind of how the operating costs differ. I personally feel like the Taurus is probably the most bang-for-your-buck ship right now at the higher price points, but that might just kind of be my own opinion. If you don't buy it outright with cash and you really want to transport, I would definitely consider making that a goal for you once the universe actually hits and trying to earn one in-game. And before we wrap this up on the transportation side, there's a few interesting other options to consider. The first of which is the Cutlass, which everyone is marketing as a pirate ship, and I think CIG is kind of doing that as well. Now, sure, it really fits that role well, but that bad boy can actually keep up with the base Freelancer model carrying 150 units of cargo. Not quite as much, but pretty damn close. The ship's also going to be really agile, it's very combat capable, and it's going to be cheap to repair or replace if you have any issues with it. So, while it may not have the durability or the range of the Freelancer, it's a really intriguing option for a transport role, and it may be enough to kind of keep people away from attacking you, knowing that you're able to really defend yourself. The Cutlass can be bought right now for $115, or like everything else, earned in-game. Now, other than the Cutlass, there are ships that aren't available for purchase right now that will fit this role very well. And depending on what you might want to carry, maybe a little bit more specialized. One that comes to mind is the Starfarer, which is going to specialize as a fuel delivery ship. We know how gas prices are now in the world, and how about 800 years in the future. I'm guessing there's going to be some pretty good profit made on transporting fuel. I also believe that there's going to be able to be retrofitted to carry dry cargo. Now, the biggest option that we have is the Whole Sea, and that's the other ship that's in development with the transport focus. All I really need to say about that ship is, you know how I talked about the Taurus, and it has 1,900 units of cargo capacity, and that's a lot. The Whole Sea is going to carry 9,000 units, and that's crazy, and that's awesome. And then finally, another option that's kind of highly modular, somewhat piratey, is the Caterpillar. This thing's going to be able to be customized like a Lego set, can carry up to 3,200 units of freight. I kind of look at this thing like a barge on a river, but I think it's going to be another really good option. Oh, and I forgot one. Glad it just came to mind. The Banu Merchantman is an alien ship that looks crazy awesome. It's designed to run blockades and carries a good amount of cargo. It's another more exotic option if you're looking to get into the transportation game. So something else you might want to consider once the Persistent Universe actually drops. And one last thing to keep in mind when we're talking about cargo. In general, more cargo means more money. But it's not always going to be that simple. Maybe you're tasked with just carrying a briefcase that has the most valuable secrets contained within it. Or maybe you're transporting something illegal. Well, you're going to draw far less attention flying around in maybe an Aurora. It's going to be the most common ship in the universe. And if you're flying around on the most common ship in the universe, you're probably going to get less attention than something else. Pirates may not think you're worth the effort. The UEE might not think that you're worth their time. That's not a guarantee, but if I was a money-starved pirate, your Aurora probably wouldn't interest me the same as like a 300 series might. Sometimes the best place to hide stuff is right in plain sight. So as we look at your time in transport, if you start out with the Aurora, earn your way to get that big box. From there, keep carrying cargo until you can upgrade to the Freelancer, and depending on on what your long-term goals are in the universe, if you plan to go with the Taurus, just get the base Freelancer model instead, so you can save some cash and get the Taurus later on. Otherwise, if you want to stick with that Freelancer cash, then I would go straight from the Aurora, get the big box, save until you can afford the Freelancer Max, and get that. And there you have it. Transport recommendations. Now, the final official category that we're going to talk about is combat. Now, there's more combat ships out there than just about anything at the moment, so strap in. This one's going to be a little bit longer. Everyone has different opinions here when it comes to, dogfighting and combat and military and all this stuff, but these are my opinions. So, starting at the beginning, if you're going to purchase a ship, the only option, again, right now to buy is the Aurora. Now, you do have the option to choose between the Aurora MR, which is your general Aurora, or the Aurora LN, which has a more combat focus with missiles and more weapons. Now, it's also going to be $5 more, but that's not really much. And if you want to fight, then that's probably going to be the Aurora for you. The other starting ship once the game launches again is going to be the Mustang, and finally we're seeing a place for the Mustang. The Mustang is a combat-focused starter ship, and it's expected to be pretty fast and agile. Now, I wouldn't necessarily get your hopes up that it's going to be very durable or powerful, but as far as some of the starting ships are concerned, it may not be a bad option for the fight. I value speed and agility, sometimes more than guns, and I think the Mustang makes it a good fit. That being said, if you're not planning on, waiting and want to get in cheap, I would definitely go with the Aurora LN, and personally, I think the LN is going to be a very underrated ship, and I think it's going to be very capable overall. So, now that we've separated ourselves from the starter ship, things get a little bit more interesting. So let's break it down a bit. How do you see yourself in a fight? Would you prefer to be that boom and zoom type that comes in fast, unleashes hell, then zooms off, and then do it all over again? Is your favorite current airplane an A-10, the Warthog? Well, then that's got the Avenger written all over it. The Avenger has that big-ass engine I mentioned before. It's also got the big size 5 gun on the nose. Combine that with some disabling weapons on the wings, and you've got yourself a ship that I think is going to really be able to get out of trouble or start some if you prefer. There's another group of players, though, that may prefer super agile ships, and I think sometimes that maneuverability is going to win fights, and people feel that way too. So if that's the case, and that's how you feel, then the 300 series could be a good fit for you, specifically the 325A. The base 300 comes with a $65 price tag. The 325 is going to be $80. Now, the 325 is going to get you advanced targeting systems, missiles, as well as an upgraded nose gun. Either's going to be fine, especially since you can turn that 300 into a 325 pretty easily overall. Both of them have 12 maneuvering thrusters, and that's going to make it one of the more agile ships you can buy at the moment. It's going to be slower than something like the Avenger, but again, more maneuverable. Now, if you prefer to go into a fight thinking that the more guns you bring to the fight, the better your chances of winning, then the Hornet may be the best option for you. Hornet's armed to the teeth with weapons, it's got decent maneuverability, decent speed, pretty good shields, it's the true fighter of the group. Now, it trades off range because it doesn't have a bed, and its cargo is very minimal, but it will kick some serious ass. Now, if things play out like we've seen in Arena Commander so far, the Hornet's basically going to be the king of close-range engagements, while the 300 series with the Omniskies on the wingtips is going to own longer ranges. We don't have too many other ships in the Arena Commander right now, so it's hard to really compare those later on. The Hornet lineup's going to start at 125, and finally there's kind of a hybrid ship that I think falls between the bigger options in the single-seater ships, but that can compete with both, and I think that's going to be the Cutlass. The Cutlass has good weapons, it's very maneuverable, and has a turret for other gunners to unleash hell. And I envision a hard-fought battle with a couple of fighters and a Cutlass. Now, if your preferred style of fighting is to run with a bigger ship and have a crew that's working together, then the Constellation Andromeda is going to be a great option. It's got 2 turrets, it's got missiles out the wazoo, it's got a small fighter docked ready to come out and engage others. It really is set up to be a fearsome beast in battle. Now, the Andromeda is currently going for $325, which is fairly expensive for a ship, but it will be something that will be feared by smaller groups, especially if the folks that are actually flying that Andromeda are a capable team. Now, for ships that you can't buy right now, but are going to be in the game, we have a whole host of other options. We have a couple of bombers that are going to be good for capital ship duty, with the Gladiator and the Retaliator. If you love like really highly agile and nimble ships, the Xi'an have an offering in the Kar-2 Al, otherwise aka the Xi'an Scout, that's said to be one of the most nimble ships in the game, and it does come with a second seat. The Scythe is a Vanduul ship that is very agile. It also comes with a nifty ramming blade. And if you want all the thrills of a fighter, but want someone to kind of sit in your ship and run targeting and radar, the Super Hornet is a bigger version of the stock Hornet that also comes with a turret on top for even more Daka. Now, the Gladius is a ship that went on sale not too long ago. It's very fast, it's very agile, it's really more of a light fighter, short range. It does have a really big power plant for a ship of its size, though, and I imagine it to really be able to maintain speed while firing almost constantly. In my mind, I kind of look at the Gladius as a pest. Now, that may also make it feared, but who knows? We'll just have to see how that all plays out. The biggest option that we've seen available in-game is the Idris. Now, the Idris is as close to a capital ship as we have right now, and it's going to have a boatload of weapons, bays, all sorts of stuff on it. And all that make it a juicy target, but it's also going to be a beast to be feared. If you're wanting something to really rally your fleet around and you're in a large organization, the Idris is probably going to be a goal that you guys already have set. There's also another option, a Freelancer class, the missile variant. It was on a limited sale. The missile version of the Freelancer is basically a missile boat that can just unleash a boatload of missiles. Yeah, I know, pretty original. But if that's kind of more your style, I see that as being anti-fighter, or maybe even with some larger missiles, anti-capital ship as well. Now, there's a few... Well, I guess, hold on. So let's go ahead and assume and kind of do our tree here that you're starting with one of the starter ships. You're getting the Aurora LN, or upgrading your MR with the necessary parts as quickly as possible once you're in the universe. From there, it's really all about your the style of fighting. If you want to be more of an interceptor, I would suggest the Avenger or the Gladius. If you want to be more of a true dogfighter, go with the 325 or the Hornet, or even the Kar-2 Al. Now, if you want to run with a friend and be more of a powerhouse, the Cutlass or the Super Hornet might be logical choices too. If you want to go really big and end up with some of the bad boys in the group, you're going to have some friends flying with you, then I would probably pick one of the ships I mentioned just above after the Aurora. Then finally, just keep saving from your, missions to earn your way to either maybe a Retaliator or a Constellation. And after you get one of those, if you're in a big organization and want a big old ship, Idris is going to be next. It's going to be really expensive. So I would plan on having that Constellation or Retaliator for quite a long time. Try stockpiling your cash as best as possible. Maybe share amongst your friends. And when it's time, jump on up into that big boy and have yourself an Idris. Now, there's a few subcategories here that I'm not really covering, but I'm going to hit on them just really quick. And there is racing in this game, and if you want to get into racing cheap, the Mustang's going to have a Mustang racing variant that should be at least pretty competitive overall. Now, if you want to get into true racers, the 350R or the M50 are going to be your go-to ships. If you prefer to play the game as a bounty hunter, both the Cutlass or the Avenger would be perfect for that, especially the Avenger because it comes with holding cells and the disabling weapons that it uses. Other than that, let me know if you have specific roles or things you want to do in the universe, and put them in the comments, and I'll try and give you recommendations based on that. So there you have it, my updated buying guide. Now, to the part where I tell you about the ships and how I made my decisions, I personally have 4 ships right now, and I chose mine based on the roles within my organization, and within the organization, I'm one of the military leaders. So I personally started out with my initial pledge package, and I chose the 325A. In my mind at the time of purchase, I was a firm believer that agility and maneuverability was going to win most of the battles, and the additional thrusters on the 325 really kind of seemed to fit that build. Like I mentioned before, it also has missiles, a mass driver, along with combat sensors, and overall that made it a good fit for me. From there, I figured I'd probably spend my solo time in a more passive role, kind of exploring, so I picked up a Freelancer. Now, I had those two ships for quite a while until the Gladius sale came out. Now, if you've been following me for a while, my recommendation at that time was, when it came to the Gladius, was it looked to be a very good ship, but I didn't really feel the price point was right. I felt it was priced too high. At the same time, though, I figured I wasn't really going to be using the Lancer much, especially as we started developing our organization more and more, so I decided to melt it and go ahead and get the Gladius. Worst case scenario, I could go back, but I haven't. And that left me with some credits to use for a future ship. Now, after doing more research and playing around in Arena Commander, I started to see some of the benefits of speed in ships, and knowing the current engine size of the Avenger, I was intrigued. Now, I also looked at my other two ships, and I didn't see one that was more multi-purpose, and I felt the larger cargo carrying capacity of the Avenger would kind of help give me that multi-role ship if I needed it. I can't lie either, though. That size 5 nose gun on the front was a pretty big turn-on, too. So I used some of my credits, plus a little bit more, and then added it to my fleet and got myself an Avenger. And my final ship came pretty recently when I decided to add a Hornet to the lineup. I wanted the true fighter of the group. I figured I would be able to pick my ship based on the operation I was running, and that gave me a little bit more diversity. So that was my primary justification for it. In my mind, here's how I kind of plan to choose which ship I'm going to fly. If I'm playing around solo and might want to take on small cargo missions and the kind, I'm probably going to pull out the Avenger. If we're running an operation as an organization and it requires greater range, then I'm probably going to go with the 325 as it provides the bed and longer ranges that a couple of the other ships I have don't really fit the bill for. If we're staying closer to home and I don't really need the ability of the bunk and we don't have a carrier yet, then I'm probably going to choose between the Hornet or the Gladius. Probably whatever fits with what the other members in my fleet are flying at that time. So, as far as my long-term plans for ships, I envision melting one if the Super Hornet comes back for sale, and apply those credits towards a cross-chassis upgrade on my standard Hornet. I might also upgrade my Hornet to the Hornet Tracker in the meantime, just so I can actually run command ops while in battle. And that ship is actually suited pretty well to a small, mobile, combat-capable command ship, and that fits my role in the organization very well. Now, I'm not planning on buying any more ships in. I figure at this point, I will be probably melting and picking and choosing from there, kind of just swapping my fleet around until it gets to a point where we can't actually do that anymore. Now, I might eventually upgrade to something like a Constellation or a Retaliator in-game, but right now, I'm personally more interested in the fighter and escort type roles, and I think that's what I'm going to probably stick to for the most part. So that's how I've made most of my decisions. So I want to go ahead and share some opinions from our fine PXP members, and here are some of their responses. Now, Butter, another one of our leaders, he said this: "Perhaps this is too terse to be helpful, but I like luxury cars. I aspire to rekindle my Wing Commander Ace pilot glory days, and the 325A is damn sexy." He said, "I might have gotten the Hornet for its better fighting pedigree, but its looks just don't do it for me." And I think that's an interesting point that he's bringing up, because one thing that you're not really going to be able to change too much is the overall look of your ship. We'll probably be able to do paint jobs and stuff, but if you don't like the look of your hull, it's probably not going to be a good bet, because you're going to be looking at it a whole lot. Inburn said, "I went with the Avenger because they marketed it as an old police vehicle. Honorable, just, honesty. Things like that should be what you think of when police comes to mind, and that should be upheld at all costs. And I really like the swoops and curves of it. Again, we're talking looks. Plus, it has a huge nose cannon, like that of a Liberator or A-10 Thunderbolt. That's the Warthog." I said I also have to agree with Butter on that if it doesn't look appealing to me, I probably won't fly it, unless it's cheap or really good at what it does. I think that's, kind of echoing what I had just talked about. Rahel from our org said, show the Constellation out of love of so many movies and games involving small cruise ships. Medium, large size, capable of carrying all sorts of tasks. The Aquila is very versatile for pretty much anything exploring, trading, or transporting. I still have the fighting capacity, but will do my best at scanning threats for friendlies, basically taking on more of a support role. He said, when I saw the Constellation for the first time, I remembered the Millennium Falcon. You know, the Karoo of Serenity from Firefly, the Normandy from Mass Effect with the rover. I see the persistent universe as an escape from daily life. Undock my Aquila, go for a ride with some PXP crew, take some tasks or mission, and go to find a jump point to explore. Hopefully doing that this will bring beautiful wow moments to put on a video or just enjoy between ourselves. There you have it. Epix decided that he was going to... He said, I had an Aurora when I first got into the game. When I got DFM access, I hated flying the Aurora and wanted something else. The Gladius was on sale shortly afterwards, and I bought it for using in the DFM, and also to melt in case the Herald goes on sale. You can kind of see some of the long-term thought process there of what he actually wants to do. Zickel said he got the 325 because it looks like it's combat-oriented, but if I were to choose, I would completely change the specialization of the ship by changing out a few components. 300i equals a blank canvas. So, as you can see, you can really customize, like I mentioned before, ships to any way to suit your needs. And while the 325 is more combat-focused, something like a 300, the stock model, gives you a lot of freedom and customization. J-Lock said, I chose the Connie for its ability to be a jack of all trades. Today I can haul some cargo, tomorrow I can go do some exploring, the day after I can go shoot some stuff down. Plus I like having a crew. I upgraded to the Phoenix, the pimp ship, because if I'm going to shell out money for a Connie in the first place, I might as well get what I feel is the best variant. Not to mention I'm a sucker for big ships that come out in limited availability. I got the Ghost Hornet because I often like to play the stealthy role. I got the Avenger because it's a beautiful ship and based on stats should be able to hold its own fairly well in a dogfight. I got the Gladius for its ability to dogfight as well, its beauty and its disposability. It's supposed to be quick to replace. And again, I'm sucker for ships in a limited availability. And finally, I got the Xi'an Scout because it's supposedly unparalleled maneuverability, beauty, 2 seats, and for the last time, it's limited availability. J-Lock looks to be a little bit of a collector. Jas Bob said, I chose the Avenger because not only looks good, but can cater to what I plan on doing in the PU. And that's basically anything that pays good, primarily focusing around bounty hunting and non-discriminatory mercenary work. Anything from escorting space truckers to helping facilitate an unlawful and unconsensual transfer of goods from one ship to another one that may be paying me to stick around and assist if needed. And also, as another ship that I plan on getting when it comes available, when the PU is out, is the Retaliator, for the same very reasons. If someone wants to get a bigger escort or got a gun, I got it. And if Cap Ship's got to die, I can cover that as well. Again, you can see long-term goals, things that people are considering. Maybe start small, develop big. Craig from our group, one of our leaders, said he bought the Aurora because it would be cheap. Can't argue with that. Flex, our founder, said, I got the Aurora just to lock in a ship and an alpha beta test slot. But later on, the org decided to emphasize transport and transport escort, and I wanted to maximize the cargo carrying capacity to facilitate a lot of missions. The Constellation Taurus has a big capacity and seemed the best bang for the buck, which I totally agree on. Since I have already had an alpha beta membership, I could save money by just putting into the ship alone, saving $50 over the regular price. I really like the idea of having extra seats for gunners and engines that my friends can fill, and maybe even help bring non-pilots into our organization. Taking on the leader role there by providing opportunities for other people. Clausen said I wanted an all-around ship at first since I didn't know what I wanted to do. So with that, the Aurora got, so I could go with the Aurora to get into it. Then after looking at the ships and after deciding what I wanted to do, I chose the 315P because it suited what I wanted to do and came with some extras that will help me when I start out. Them jump engines. Mercer said I chose the Avenger due to it being built as an interceptor interdiction vessel. I plan on outfitting it for recon operations, scouting and such. The rather spacious cargo hold for a single seat ride was a big plus, and I also plan on working towards the exploration geared Constellation and a Gladius as well. Steve said, simply put, big gun, make enemy go boom. He went for the Avenger. Well said, Steve. And Picane said, I finally arrived at the Aquila because I wanted to play this game with college buddies. There's 4 of us, so no one's left out in the black, and we pretty much all just want to explore, so it's a perfect fit. So there you have it. Some ideas and explorations and thought process that may help in your own. So I really hope this has kind of helped you out in some way, shape, or form. If you have any questions about any of this, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get to them. PXP is recruiting right now, so if you're looking for a home in the universe, please check us out. I'll put a link to our organization in the description, as well as a link to my kind of recruiting video explaining what our goals were. Other than that, stay tuned for a whole lot of content coming up. I appreciate you sticking through this long-ass video, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.